we're out here. This is the field where the magic happens.
Benning Bites with Damon Benning. Benning Bites with Damon Benning.
Episode of Benning Bites brought to you by Hurrdat Sports. You guys know how I feel about it. I talk about it all the time. A little higher, a little lower. Underdog fantasy. If you like daily competitive fantasy and you like multiple sports, yeah, it's perfect for me. It can be good for you too. Just make sure you hit the website or download the app. Enter the promo code Benning. Very, very, very interesting show this morning. Of course, we wanted to pay our respects. Extremely emotional, so appreciate your patience, my partner's patience, my producer's patience, the listening audience patience, as we lamented a little bit over the great Calvin Jones and kind of what he meant on a personal level. And we made it through that, and appreciate some of the calls and the well wishes. And that Michigan Lance was really good, especially at the end when we talked about kind of overcoming failures and obstacles. And it's not always rainbows and butterflies that make for the great parts of the story, but sometimes it's the multiple comebacks. And we got a lot of that with CJ. So I am appreciative of that. And however you get us, continue to do so, whether it's on the AM dial, whether it's digitally, whether you're downloading it and streaming through apps. We always appreciate your time and support. It's huge and fascinating discussion. It almost got away from us. Ravi reeled us back in with some NFL talk, but man, we got into roster talks. And I encourage you, I highly, highly encourage you, go back and listen to the segment with Tim Verghese. And you guys love him. He's good every week. There's no question about that. But real time, we went through roster distribution and kind of managing the numbers. I can't even say scholarship numbers because, I mean, it just is what it is now. I mean, you're here or you're not. And we got down to looking through and parsing through the 105. And he had a great member. It was Huskers 33 that kind of put together this tentative roster movement chart. And it's a beautiful thing. He went through coaches and player movement and who's in, who's not, who's left, who's come. It was fantastic. Well done. Beautiful document. And it was kind of the catalyst. And the cool thing about having that conversation, and again, I encourage you to go back and download it and see, tell us what you think. It's a great weekend homework project. Ravi asked me spur of the moment, like afterwards, to use like ideal numbers of position groups. And I was arbitrarily throwing out numbers like, hey, 5 quarterbacks or 6 running backs or, 15 DBs or whatever it is. And I arrived at a number. And my number just at first blush without putting it to paper was 110. Wouldn't that be something to have 110 in terms of players? No, 110 I got to. And so the point of the exercise was to put names with positions and then kind of tell you how I think the coaching staff is looking at it and that we shouldn't really panic. And real time to go through the names and the numbers and the scholarship distribution. It's not as daunting, I think, as we kind of think it is. We're right around 132 that we know of. I mean, we could give or take a body or two that may be operating in the know that we don't know, but roughly 132. And you got to get to 105 by fall camp. And I think we got there pretty easily in terms of, now we didn't always agree on the who, but for the numbers and the position group, I think it's fascinating. And I found myself real time, and I think Tim and Ravi would agree, like we shifted real time. This is the beauty of being like a lifelong learner. Because I think the narrative going into this was, oh my gosh, what are they going to do in the secondary? Like this is going to be anarchy. And we started putting names and positions and looking at the actual numbers and what they'll carry. And it's like, oh, it's not that bad. Or you look at, man, do you really want to carry 10 tight ends, or do you need 22 linemen, or What about 17 linebackers? Like, you start putting actual numbers and faces to it, I think you can get there and feel fairly comfortable with the direction that Nebraska is moving. And I'm not just saying that. I challenge you again. Go back and listen to the segment. We use the names, like real names, real time, grade, um, number of years in the program, and you can kind of, just as I like to say, go be a Berean. You get to do your own homework. And I think you'll find yourself taking a collective sigh. Now, it's not going to be easy. There's a difference between simple and easy. We talk about that all the time, right? Easy to do is not always the case when something is so simple to say, right? I clearly understand that. But I don't think we kind of need to be in this panic mode that all of a sudden the vision for the program is changing right before our very eyes, because I think you'll be encouraged when you start to listen and look at the names. Nebraska is still in a position where development is critical. This is not some rent-a-fixed kind of thing. You can look at the age and the so few seniors and the multiple year guys and think we're still developing. It's still critical. And so I think, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, that you'll be encouraged. But let us know on Monday. Take the weekend, kind of parse through it. 888-638-4876. You can always get at us on social media. But when we're back at 7 o'clock on Monday, be curious to get your thoughts on roster distribution and just kind of how the 105 can and will work. It's another episode of Benning Bites.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.